Hello, everyone. I'm Claudio Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire podcast, and my guest today is Jill Dane. Sought after Psychic to the Stars, her lifetime of work has catapulted her to world-renowned fame. Her life was chronicled on Lifetime television as the number one love psychic for all the marriages and relationships she has predicted throughout her life, over 1,000 to date. Jill has embedded in Ripley's Believe It or Not as the most amazing teenage psychic in 1977 and has been on radio and television since she was 6 years old. She has been named one of the top five psychics by Women's Own magazine and American Women's Magazine. She is also a medical intuitive and helps people all around the world to solve their medical puzzles. Jill, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, this is the book, Ripley's Believe It or Not, that I'm in. See this book?
Yes.
Yes, I've been there 13. Okay, go ahead.
Nice. It's such an honor to have you. I know you usually go on radio and much more visible shows, and I appreciate your time.
I like your energy. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I agreed to do the show because I liked your energy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I mentioned that you notice your psychic abilities from a young age. Was it something that your mother, another famous psychic, Mickey Dahne, cultivated, or it was just innate in you?
Well, my mom was number one throughout the whole world, and she would solve murder cases and find missing people, and she was known all over television for many, many years, written up in many newspaper articles, and she had a radio show, syndicated radio show, her whole life. But when I was young, my mom would always say, and this is what I tell my listeners and my clients, and at lectures, I tell everybody, always go by your first intuition. And if you see something, just say it. It may sound weird to someone else, like, well, that's not, I don't know what you're talking about. And then later on, like a month later, oh my God, how did that person know that? So when I was little, my mom would say, Jill, say what you see. And I got put into kindergarten. And I used to tell the teacher what she would write on the board before she wrote it. And she called me a witch, and I'm not a witch. And she stood on the chair. I'll never forget that. And all the other teachers of the school couldn't wait till Mickey Dane came to pick me up so they could. I mean, it looked like when Elvis passed away, a line of people waiting to see my mom every time. So she finally said, I'm not going to your school. I'm going to send someone to pick you up, because she could not say no about answering a question. So then they put me in Miss Kaplan's class, who was very intuitive and was so excited. And that's how it started, where my mother would put me on radio and I would answer questions. And then I got flown to do the John Eastman show when I was 13 years old. And that's when I predicted the Hanafi Muslim attack in Washington, D.C., to the time, to the date on his show in Tampa. And I basically saved the president. And that's what put me in the book, Ghost, Witches, and ESP by Ripley's Believe It or Not. And it just swindled from there. Then we were in Memphis with Elvis Presley's family and Elvis. And then we were there with Dee Dee Presley the day after he passed away. So it just kept going. And I've done many, many shows.
Yes,
and helped many, many people.
Yes, and this brings a lot of responsibility. And, you need to contain your let's say power, or and build an ethic, a special ethics, and use your life and live your life in such a way that you don't abuse what you have, these capabilities. So how did you manage to build such a strong mind and character and stay on the positive path?
Well, there are a lot of people out there, not a lot, we'll just say, but there were always a few people out there that wanted to be somebody, and they should always be themselves, and you have to stay, when you're intuitive, a lot of people, and I believe everyone has intuition, just some people are stronger than others. um it's very hard, if I could say. Thank God I am strong inside, and I've helped many, many people. But there are people out there that want to be someone, and all they have to do is be themselves. We'll say it that way. Put
Yes.
your energy in yourself
Yes.
instead of others. Like there are kids out there, and it hurts me. Everything that I've done in my life is for children since I was young. All my lectures went to kids in distress and children around the world, or the homeless. Every time I do lectures, I do them in New York, and I take some people with me, and we give the money to the people outside. It's been my life. That's who I am. And you have to love what you do. And there's so many, what I'm loving right now, that there's so many light beings coming out of the closet, I'll say, that they were very intuitive when they were young, but their mothers wouldn't let them talk. So now they're able to speak now, and loud. So I'm like really happy about it.
A lot of my guests tell me that they refrain from showing to the world what they have, their features, their capabilities, their intuition. And now, as you said, they are coming out, they create their own community, and they spread the light to the world. And that's beautiful. And do you believe that if someone will abuse such power, the divine, the God of our understanding will take that power away from that person?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I believe in karma. I believe, I predicted, I'll just say, when I predicted American Airlines stock, and I told everybody, first I said, don't fly American a long time ago. Before it was right before 9/11, I kept seeing something happening. And so I told everybody, don't fly American Airlines. I feel something with, and also United, I don't fly. And I kept, so when people would call into my radio show, I would say, fly JetBlue, don't fly American Airlines. I kept seeing, and then 9/11 happened. So, and I continued because I kept seeing more things happening. So the head of my station calls me in and says, Jill, you have to stop. Thousands of people, I just got a phone call from American Airlines, and thousands of people are canceling their flights because Jill Dane said not to fly. So just say fly another flight. Don't use American. So fast forward, I was seeing American Airlines stock. And I told everybody I see it merging with US Air. Now, US Air wasn't even discussed when I mentioned this. So I told everyone, buy American Airlines stock. It was at 34 cents. Everybody said it wasn't going to go. Even this person that bought, his person at Merrill Lynch told him, who are you listening to? I am the head of finance here. Why are you putting all your family's portfolio in this? And he said, well, I just have a hunch, and I feel she's going to be right. You're relying on someone, you're putting millions of dollars. He says, I have a hunch. So then he goes, it's not going to go past $5. Went past $5. Then it went to like 6.28. Then all of a sudden they're announcing it's going to merge with US Air, like I said, and passed in the courts in Texas at $12 and something, and went all the way up to $55. He
Uh-huh.
went back. Now I wanted to, now this, I'm going to tell you what you just said. Well, if you use it in a wrong way, right? I use my abilities to help people. I help them make money. I help them with health. I deal with major businesses. I solve murder cases. I find missing people my whole life. But I wanted to put money in that stock myself because I predicted it. I felt in my intuition, if I did that, my abilities would go away. So I didn't do it. This person and half of America that listened to me made so much money on that stock. 34 cents to $55. Now, the gentleman who was the head of finance, he was saying, "Hey, what do you have to say?" It went to $55. He's sending him an email. The guy didn't respond. You understand?
Yes.
He didn't know what to say.
Yeah, they are embarrassed
And
when
thank God it went to $55. He said, "Jill, I'm going to come to Florida and I'm going to murderize you." I'm sorry, but that's like inside of me. I could give people stocks. I could tell them, let go of Bitcoin now and buy later, right? But for myself, I feel if I did it for myself, I feel my abilities. I don't know if it's in my head. I just feel that way. I've always felt that way my whole life.
yeah, and in fact, we have to those who are benefiting from what you say and what you predict should compensate you as a nice gesture, as a part of their ethical life and business life in a way to donate something back to either you or to a
Not
association you would like to see benefited from. Yeah.
to like an association, not to me. I never say give to me. Like when they made all that money, they all wanted to give me something. One even sent $1,000 Starbucks card, and I sent it back. I said, give it to an association that I like. I love the homeless. I love helping the homeless. I love helping children in need, especially children. So, there are a lot of people that are in coins right now that I predicted. And one of them said, Jill, when, he bought a lot of coins and he said, when I make a certain amount, he's going to go to New York City and take care of New York and then go to other states if he makes that amount of money. It's not just New York, it should be California. My dream is to get everybody that is off the street and put them in a building and like get them mind reorganized because a lot of people are so smart and get them jobs and at least a place to sleep instead of the street. When I was a little girl, my mom would go do city TV in Canada. You're in Canada, right?
Correct.
Toronto. Do you know
Yes.
Toronto?
Yeah.
So she would fly out all the time and do city TV out there. And I would take someone, I was 11 years old, the person who was watching me, and I would get people off the street and bring them to our house. And I would make sure all my neighbors, they gave me blankets and pillows for everybody, and they all took showers. And I ordered pizza. I'll never forget. I was 11 years old. And my mom would come, Jill, what are all these people doing here? And I said, they had nowhere to go. She goes, they can't stay here, Jill. But at least I knew they got to take a shower, they got to eat, and they got a blanket and pillow. And I gave them whatever I had saved, from my, birthdays from like, I can remember from 6 to 11, and I gave them everything I had. That's the type of person I am.
Very nice, and I think it needs a lot of people to come with ideas, or maybe not a lot, but some people with initiative and some funds. Not the government. The government has to stay away in order to put together, yeah, a program to take them off the streets, clear their mind, as you said, clear their bodies, especially give them proper food, proper love, and then proper environment to thrive.
It's true. I feel if sorry about that. I have bulldogs. um I I feel if more people, a lot of things don't cost money. You just give your hand, you help. Um And if a lot of people would do that, I'm just saying, whenever I do my lectures all over, I see other people now. They're all mirroring me. Thank God, and I like that in a great way. How they're mirroring me because they are doing the same thing that I'm doing,
Yes.
helping people.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And Jill, I know, as I mentioned, you've been on the spiritual path and since a young age. But was that a particular spiritual experience that really made you say, "Wow, this is different," and change you in any way?
Okay. When I was younger, okay, there was a gentleman who came from Texas. It hurts me inside talking about it, but he came from Texas, and I never saw death, and I will never talk about death to a person. There are people that say, "Oh, Jill," like at some of my lectures, these women in Boca, they would say, "Oh, when is my husband going to die so I could get money?" I'm like, "Oh my God, that is your question? Are you kidding me? That I'm not answering you. I will never, but if I see something wrong with someone, I'll say, why don't you go see this doctor who's for gallbladder? Why don't you go see this one?" And so this gentleman came, and he came with his brother-in-law, and he owned a lot of things in Texas. And I said, we were talking about certain things, and I said to him, I want you to stay. First of all, you need to get a new accountant. And I said, I feel your family's robbing you. I feel the people that work for you, you're not on board. You're just trusting people. Oh, Jill, I'm not going to do that. I am telling you, you should. And then his brother-in-law is like, yeah, I think you should too. So they went back to Texas. He hired a forensic accountant, found out they were like hundreds of thousands of dollars gone. He comes back and he says, now what do I do? Now I got to get it because of you. I have to get involved in my business. And I said, you should be involved. And then all of a sudden I felt something not right. And I said, can you just stay? I'm going to ask my mom to get her doctor to come over and check you out. And he goes, no, after what you've done, I have to get back on my private plane and get back there. And I'm begging him in like tears, but I didn't want to say what I saw. I didn't feel something right. I'm like, I'm worried about your heart. And he goes, my heart's fine, Jill. He ended up getting on his plane, and when he landed, he had a heart attack and died. And that was very hard for me.
Wow.
That was one of the hardest. I didn't think I wanted to speak to anybody for at least a couple of months. That was the first time I ever saw someone passing. And I would see people that were not here anymore. That was one thing, but to actually see a person that was just sitting in front of me and all of a sudden they passed away hours later. And I feel honestly, if he would have stayed, because I've saved many lives, I've had people on my radio show even call in and I'll be like, hang up on the radio, go to the hospital. Or I had someone in front of me and I said, leave me now, go get your stomach checked right now at the hospital. And they'll be like, Jill, nothing's wrong with my stomach. Oh, yes, it is. And they get to the hospital and they said, I feel something's wrong with my stomach because they want to say, Jill said, right? Next thing they know, their appendix is about to burst and they didn't even feel that.
Wow.
So, like that, I love saving people in that sense. But to watch someone pass away when you could have helped, like if they would have listened. But I believe everybody's life is, you know, is in all their time. Nothing's written in stone. I believe it's written in pencil.
Yes, I mean we
right?
can change certain things, but in the end, these
Yeah,
events
called
still
free
catch
will.
up with us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's called free will. I mean, you have choices in life. And a lot of times some people sit there, and I always say, always follow your first intuition, not your second, because it's always right. If someone's taking a test and they're doing multiple choice questions, I always say, like, and they go down to 10, and then all of a sudden the first question they had A and they changed it to B, they should keep it on A because A was the correct answer. Always go by your first. It's amazing where people always second guess themselves, I call it.
Yes, yeah, and I'm
Yes.
doing research on my guest for next week, and one of his messages for his boys is use your intuition, gut feeling, go with that because it helped in my life a lot, and this is one of the best advices I can give you. So yes, listen to
Put all,
Jill.
listen to me. And also, it's time of the year to put all the right instruments in your body, if I could say, even the surroundings. It's like eating healthy, um, letting go of people that are negative in your life. You should go in 2024 with positive, or if someone is negative, you can always change them into positive, try to help them see the light because some people are dark beings and you could kill them with your kindness, with your light. You could shine them with your light, I'll say. Because I've gotten so many people earlier today saying to me, what is it, Jill? Because there's something in the energy, and it's called Mercury retrograde. Is supposed to end today, but it didn't end. It's always 2 weeks after. So it's like a barbecue that's still hot. It takes time to sizzle down. So if you're feeling something in the air, the energy changing, this is a time, even with the shadow effect, it's still happening, that everybody needs to bite their tongue or think before they speak. So there's no regrets later on. And it ends like October 1st. Just say that. And then you're going to start saying, God, the energy in the air, it's not like dark. It's not, it's all light. We'll say it that way.
And because you brought up this subject of Mercury retrograde, I heard a lot of discussion about September 23rd, like big events, big announcements, different type of energies. Do you have anything on that particular date to share with us?
I don't, I really, people come out with certain dates. Maybe they're seeing something on that day. I feel the October 1st, it's like bright. That's new beginnings. That's when you go apply for your job. That's when, if you want to buy that car, you do it. If you want to go to court, you do it. Um, October is going to be a great month. Yeah.
Thank you.
Another, you said something, that got me, if I could say, my best friend who I gave many, many readings to. Her name was Phoebe Snow. She was a famous singer. She sang the song The Poetry Man. She was older than me. And I've known her since I was 15. And all of a sudden I saw something. We were in New York City and I saw something with her head. And she goes, oh, I'm getting headaches, but I'm fine. And I always tell people, when you use your intuition, pay attention to signs and messages from, you'll see numbers 333, 111, two. My numbers, I love 222, but I'm born 111, January. I have powerful numbers there, like many other people, but 444, 555, 711, there's certain numbers that you should pay attention to, that your loved ones and heaven, I want to say, when someone, I know I'm going back and forth, but I want to say this because I want everyone out there to know that no matter when your loved one passes away, even an animal, their soul goes to heaven, and heaven is all love. But this is a shell. And so within 13 seconds, the soul leaves the body, and then heaven is right beside you. So they're always there. Even if you may not hear them, they'll show you that they're there with messages. In your dreams, they'll come to you in your dreams and they'll communicate in your dream state. They'll come back younger, they'll come back older. So here, my friend Phoebe Snow, who I many, many readings, I kept seeing something with her head, and she's like, "Oh, Jill." And we were eating at China Grill in New York City right after my lecture. And I said, "Phoebe, I really want you to get your head checked." She goes, "Nothing's wrong with my head. I'm fine." Come December, she would say, "Jill, how's Audrey?" And I'm like, "Audrey, you mean Zoe, my daughter?" And I'm like, "Zoe's fine. Go get your head checked." "No, Jill, I'm fine." Now, I would hear from her every other week. She was on tour. All of a sudden, I didn't hear from her, and I'm getting this bad feeling. This is what I want everyone to hear. This is how the universe works and everything else. I'm freaking out. I called my mom. May she rest in peace now. And I said, "How do we get a hold of Phoebe? I can't get Phoebe." And then we get all of a sudden I go to my computer and I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm at a movie. That's where it was. And I get a phone call from the drummer. "Jill, are you sitting down? Phoebe passed away." "From what?" "A hemorrhage in her head." Right? So I tell people, even if you feel nothing, just go get checked. It doesn't hurt, right? Hopefully, God forbid, I hope the doctor says nothing's wrong with you. So then I'm like, "Oh, what about the funeral?" And the manager and I did not get along, her and her manager, because I wanted Phoebe to get rid of her, right? And so the manager says, "I'm not giving you where the funeral is," she told me. This is what she says to me. Best friend since 15. I have many, many readings, right, of the family. So I crying my eyes out. I turn on the computer. I turn on the song, "Never Letting Go." And right underneath it, it posted like 1 second before I turned it on. This was her telling me, "If you want to know where Phoebe's funeral is, it's going to be at this place." I took my phone, I snapped it. I called my mom. "I can't believe this. Phoebe's telling me where she's at." I go back to it, it's gone. Thank God I snapped it. Then my mom called her sister and said, "Oh my God, Mickey," and starts crying, and they're at the funeral home. "I'm going to wait for Jill." And the manager in the back is like, "No, we got to do this now." And thousands of people are in New York for her, her funeral. And they said, "No, we're going to wait till Jill gets here." And Howard Stern did a whole memorial for her on his show. And so this is what happened. I come back. This is why I want people to understand how messages are. I'm giving you my story so you can understand. And I always say, write down if you have a dream or if you get a message, write it down. So Phoebe always called my daughter Audrey Hepburn. And I'm like, "No, it's Zoe, you know." So I get back and Laura DeLuca wrote the book, "I Love You More," the children's book that I predicted that would get all over the world, and it did. So she calls and says, "Jill, I wrote my second book. Can you come to Las Olas for a book signing?" And I said, "Laura, I just got back. I'm devastated. My best friend passed away. Please, can you come?" I said, "Okay, I'll bring Zoe." I bring Zoe. We get to the bookstore. And the woman says, "Oh, are you coming tomorrow?" And I said, "No, I'm relaxing tomorrow. I went through something devastating. And I can't even believe I'm here, but I'm supporting Laura." And she says, "Well," I can't believe, "the person who wrote the book, Audrey Hepburn, is going to be here." I said, "Okay, I'll be there." That was a sign. And that's why I'm giving this story, so people can understand signs and messages. And I said, "I'll be there." I fell on the floor. I couldn't believe it. That was Phoebe telling me she's with me.
Yes, beautiful story. Thank you very much for sharing. And to your point, we have to be aware. We have to go through life in a aware way to understand these signs, to make sense of these signs. Because if we brush them away, life will pass by. So once again, I go
Yes,
back to the awareness of living our life.
that's true. Just always, there's always a message. It's like you could be talking about someone and then all of a sudden appear, or you could be somewhere and you feel like a deja vu moment, like you've been there before, but you haven't. But in reality, you really have because of a past life or someone, you know, you may have said, God, I've never been here before, but you felt like everything about that being there. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, yeah, it did. It did.
Uh, Tell me what happened to
Um, when I visited, I think, if I remember correctly, um, what was that? I think in Paris, I knew exactly Montmartre, the area. I felt very at ease there, and I was able to give directions to other tourists. So I don't at that time I was not as aware as I am right now. I can tell you that. I was just living my life. I was a tourist, but in retrospective, I had that moment of, okay, I know somehow this place. I didn't know about, spirituality. I didn't know about previous lives. At that time, I was young. But later on, in retrospective, I was able to maybe think that I was there before. That
you? Yeah,
was
that's
one
a
mistake.
past life.
Yeah.
That's a past life experience. And the more people tap into their intuition, the stronger they get, the stronger. So there was, okay, for Lifetime TV, okay, I've done many shows, but for Lifetime television, and I predicted over 6,000 marriages today. That has to get updated. Um, Two of them are getting married very shortly, and there's one in Israel next year, June. I'm so excited. That just got engaged. Three more people. I'm so happy. But Lifetime Television was doing my life on TV, and Melissa Etheridge is the one who narrated my life. So, anyways, so they were saying to me, Jill, can you like I save invitations, even though if I can't go to some of the weddings, they send me an invitation anyways. So we're going through the box of invitations and we're trying to match up my appointment books, their telephone number and everything. So Lifetime could call and we had to pick 100 people so they could go through which ones they would want on Lifetime. So one of the people I really wanted because I was like, oh my God, I remember the story very well, but she didn't want. And what happened was she said she was from Pennsylvania and they were very spiritual, but very Catholic. And she goes, Jill, you're coming my wedding, but you can't tell anyone that you're psychic like that. I said, okay, who am I? Who am I going to be? Okay, I'm Susan. Okay, my name is Susan. And I show up at her wedding. She goes, no, because everybody, here they don't believe in this stuff, right? And you predicted my wedding. So they're saying they don't believe in intuition. And I'm like, okay, you have 200 probably and 80 guests, and not one believes in that. So at the same time, I get a phone call from the news, over there, and they said, Jill, can you come in 3 weeks? I said, is there any way possible I could come on this day so I don't have to go back to Pennsylvania? So they said, oh my God, we're so excited, blah, blah, blah. I get to Pennsylvania and I do the show in the morning. Her wedding's the next day. I go to her wedding. I have big black glasses on. Hopefully, no one's going to recognize me, right? I pull my hair back, and everybody's staring at me in the church. They're all looking at me, Everybody's staring at me. And I'm like, okay, okay. We get to the wedding. The whole wedding is around me. You're that psychic, Jill Dane. You're the psychic. Oh my God, can I ask you a question? I said, no, my name is Susan. I'm not a psychic. Oh my God, you're incredible. My sister had a reading by you and loves you. And they're all like, I have a big fan base out there. So um, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not her. And I'm crossing I feel horrible because I don't like to believe in liars, and I'm crossing my fingers saying I'm doing it for the bride because I promised. And she comes running over, Susan, why is everybody around you? I'm like, I don't know. They're telling me this Jill Dane, psychic, and God, maybe I want to meet her, It was so funny. And then I got caught because one of the people that were at her wedding when I was leaving comes over, Jill, I love you. I'm pregnant because of you. And I'm like, okay. Thank God you did it outside.
Yeah.
But it was so
Oh,
funny. They all thought it was Susan.
yeah, all good story. Thank you very much. And I would like to ask you if you connect with ascended masters or any light beings that will help you in your work, especially in the healing work.
Okay. I believe in God. God is the one who gave me a gift. I believe my mom was the one who encouraged me to use my gift. And that's who is above me. I'm also a big fan of Saint Anthony, and I love Saint Michael. I love Saint Michael, but I believe God.
Thank you.
And I really don't like the psychic. I love the name prophet or intuition. I really don't. I love intuition, the name intuition, prophet. I've never liked that name, psychic. The word
Okay.
psychic.
I'll be sure that
Yes.
psychic the word won't show up in the description of on the video. I'll do my best to find a replacement.
No, because they're yeah, exactly. You could say, well, you could put that in there because I'm known as a celebrity love psychic. But I'm known for many other things, not just love. We'll just say that. I made major predictions all over the world. When I did Rick Sanchez, he says, so Joe, where's Saddam Hussein? And I said, he's alive. No, he's dead. I go, he's not dead. They're gonna find him in a hole like a turtle. And he said to me, if they do that, I'm gonna bow down to you. Okay, get ready to bow. I'm coming back on your show for New Year's. And I went back on New Year's and he couldn't believe it. Because this was October when I was on. And then he had to bow down to me and he goes, Jill Dane predicted the capture of Saddam Hussein, It's funny.
And talking about
those are things that I love, finding people.
Yeah, and talking about prophecies as a fun exercise, have you checked if Edgar Casey's readings match yours?
My mom was very, very close to Edgar Casey. Edgar Casey's in this book with me. So is, what's her name? Oh my God, I forgot what her name. But Edgar Casey's in there with me. Sybil Leek is in this book as well, and Edgar Casey. We're the ones in this book. Edgar Casey is amazing, and so was Sybil Leek. Sybil Leek was written in over 50 books. I got growing up, I was around Sybil Leek, Sean Robbins, Dorothy Allison, Unsolved Mysteries. She was amazing as well. These were my pioneers that I got to work with growing up. These were amazing intuitives. And my mother, Mickey Dane. We went to Georgia. I was 15 years old, and they were looking for these children. And my mom told the sheriff, stop the car. And we stopped the car, and wherever they stopped in the snow, they dug, and my mom found 15 children. She solved many cases. And so did Dorothy Allison, too. Amazing intuitives. May they both rest in peace. I love you, Mom.
And because you mentioned children, I know there are about 2,000, at least the media says that there are about 2,000 children missing in Maui due to the fires. Do you have any feeling of where they might be?
I'm not feeling good about that. And
Yeah.
like I said, my prediction, the day this happened, I said this was done on purpose because of the fact that this was historical land and they were not allowed to build on historical land. It said it in their agreements. So what did they do? They burnt it down so these builders and the government and some celebrities out there could come and they could build. And this is horrible. But the people are going to fight for it and they're not going to be able to do it. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was disgusting what they did. You know, how government could get away with certain things.
Yeah.
And
There is.
Biden gave the Ukraine, I think, what was it, 7 billion? I don't recall, and gave
No,
them only $700.
no, he gave about 140, $150 billion, if not more.
150 billion, and gave the people in Hawaii $700 a person.
Yes. Yeah. It is
You know,
quite fair, of course, it's quite fair. Yeah. Not being sarcastic.
no.
You mentioned and you gave us examples about being a medical intuitive. You sense what's wrong with that person, but do you also help with the healing, or do you just refer the person to the medical system?
No, I help with the healing as well. I help with the healing. But I do send them to the right doctor. And, you know, like I said, the instruments, it's time, you know, a lot of people could get stressed and they get sick. And it's time to detox your body, your friends, your list, everything, your contact list. Get rid of what's bothering you. You know, some people stay in certain situations or they stay in certain relationships that are so unhealthy for them and they need to close the door. Once you see those red flags, it's time to walk away. It's time to close the door, bolt it, shut it, and move on because it affects your health very much so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in your opinion,
So
is love the most powerful word and energy we can use to heal ourselves, to heal our environment, and motivate others to come on the spiritual path?
exactly. Exactly. Be good to others. I mean, that's all you need to do is be good to one another. That's all. I believe in kindness. You know, I there are people that could hide, you know, under certain things in life and like hide behind a computer, you know, and try to hurt people. Instead, put that energy and try to help people. Or instead of bullying these little kids out there, bullying other little kids, be kind. Later on in life, they're going to be your best friend, you know, or they're going to be someone bigger than you. It's amazing. I'll give an example, you guys. When I was in high school, you know, I was with my friends and we were popular. And there was this kid that was in my class, and I couldn't. I made so many world predictions at 13, but I couldn't stand social studies. That's one thing I couldn't stomach. And so this kid helped me a little bit, we'll say, in social studies. And I always invited him to my parties and made sure that all the football players were nice to him. Try to be nice to everybody. You know, me growing up, we were all nice to each other, but there were a few out there that weren't. And so they were good to this person. And I went to go do the Geraldo show in 1996. I'll never forget. And it was about finding people on Geraldo Rivera. And all of a sudden I said, "Oh my God, I want an apple." And they're like, "Jill, we have a whole green room full of food here for you." I'm like, "No, I gotta go," because I was so nervous, you know. I was so nervous to go on the show. And I just wanted to breathe and get out of there. So they took me to Food Emporium, and this guy, he was beautiful. He was tall. He was like 6'1", big blue eyes. And he says, Jill. And I'm like, yes, do I know you? And he says, yes. He goes, who do you think I am? I'm like, I don't know. I'm really nervous. I'm about to do a TV show. And he says, I'll give you a hint. Social studies. I'm like, okay, what about it? And he's like, I helped you. I'm like, oh my God. Well, the person in social studies class had bifocal glasses, big glasses, pants up to his ankle. He was the greatest guy. And now he's one of the uh, uh, top attorneys, if I could say, state attorneys. And he's beautiful. He was beautiful then. That's what people don't understand. So I said, so then Mrs. Wheeler, who was the producer at the time, says, do you want to come on the show and say what Jill did? Because he said, if it wasn't for Jill giving him self-esteem and feeling good about himself, he would not be where he is today. And that's what I always say. I don't understand why it all starts in your family. That's where it starts, right?
Yes. Yeah, indeed.
The confidence that I gave him. And he went to law school. He went and worked out, got himself together. And that's why I said, never judge somebody. I don't believe in judging anybody. I don't believe in these people putting people down. Use that energy. You don't have to be intuitive to use that. Use that energy to be kind to people. If you use that energy and be kind to people, you don't understand, how you feel inside, and things start getting better for yourself. When you're mean to people or you do malicious things, and the reason why I'm saying this, because I was on another show and these people were like, oh my God, Jill, this was like several weeks ago, about, oh my God, this person's so mean to my child and this and that. And it kills me inside that a child, there are people out there, you're a grandmother or you're a mother. How could you be mean to another child? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
and I think judging is one of the weaknesses of being human, and is a trait which we really have to address at a deeper level, and is not easy. So we'll see how that will go for us in the future, but this is not easy to take care of it.
Well, flying cars are going to be in the future. I made, back in 1989, I said, I was in Canada and I said, oh, I see stem cell. And they're like looking at me like, what? And I had no idea what stem cell was. And I said, that's going to cure so many things, cancer and everything. And they were looking at me like I was crazy. And then when I was 11, we were on the TV show with your president. What was his name? Bordeaux?
Trudeau. I mean, no, it's Prime Minister. Trudeau. Yeah.
The Prime Minister.
Pierre Trudeau.
Okay. Pierre Trudeau. So he was in a blue polyester. I'll never forget this. I was 11 years old, and my mom was sitting next to him, and he was in a blue polyester pants, jacket and pants, and he had this long mustache like this, and his hair was off like this, and we said he was going to win, and he did. I'll never forget that back then. Yeah, in Canada. Crazy. Yeah. That's one of my memories of Canada.
Yeah. Jill, there is a renaissance of the entheogens, plant medicine. And I know this might be a silly question because you were connected since a young age, but just for the fun of it, have you ever tried ayahuasca or iboga or San Pedro?
No, I don't do drugs. What I was saying is that I predicted stem cell and they didn't understand what stem cell was. That's helping everything today. And at the same note, I kept seeing electronic cars. I was 18 years old and I kept seeing flying cars. They all thought I was on drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't put drugs in my body. I don't put vaccines in my body. I don't like what you just said, the ayahuasca. I've seen some people, they don't come back. They stay in their LSD mind. Um, I don't believe in it. I really don't. I believe in juicing. I believe in putting good instruments in your body. People do that because they feel they're clearing their head and they're getting stronger intuitive wise. You could get stronger intuitive wise the more you use your intuition, the more you put nice juices in your body, not drugs. I'm against drugs.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why I couldn't come to Canada, because I wouldn't take the vaccine.
Yeah,
I was
and
supposed to go to Canada and I refused to take the vaccine. I had my son um, was not this January, the January before. He was singing, the only singer at the Lincoln Memorial where Martin Luther King sang, with all the biggest doctors, Dr. Malone, all the biggest ones. And Dr. Malone is the one who invented one of the shots. And he said, I invented it, don't take it. It's going to put blood clots in your body and heart attacks. So
yes.
I don't believe in pills. I don't believe in drugs. I predicted medical marijuana was when I was 18 years old. I believe that helps many people, even the one with the PSTD. But I don't put drugs in my body. I put Advil if I have a headache.
Yeah. And do you think we are going to get medical beds anytime soon? Those technologies which can heal us completely?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yeah. I know you've seen it yourself, right? You're very intuitive. So you've seen many things yourself. Do you write them down, what you see?
Sometimes, yes, I write them down, not all the time.
You should write it down and date it, because you see things, and even in your dreams, they're amazing. You should be writing them all down.
Thank you. I will do
Your
that.
dream.
Thank you.
Yeah. I
Jill,
want you to put some iron in your body, though.
put what? Sorry?
I
Iron?
iron.
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 Okay, I'll do
Iron.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jill, what would we consider a fulfilled life?
What do I consider that fulfills life?
Oh, yes.
Everyone happy. People, everyone happy. People believing in the higher power. Um, you know, you have to believe in something first, and this goes out to all your listeners. In order to continue with your, going on with your life, and people always say, why is this happening to me? Why is that happening to me? Stop and think. Whatever you believe in, whatever God, because there's many gods to different people, whatever God you believe in, you should believe in that person. Start praying, start meditating, at least 5 minutes a day, change your life around. And once you start doing that, start believing in whatever higher power you believe in. It's like a ground of a house you're building, and then you're building, and then the walls come in, and then the roof comes in, and then the windows come in, and then you're like, God, my life is changing, because a lot of people don't believe in whatever God they believe, whatever God there is. See, I'm a person. I grew up Jewish. My son was born Jewish, but he got baptized 2 years ago. So all his music is about God. But I was brought up, we celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. I believed in everybody. And you asked me a question earlier, what changed my life, right? Like what memory? And
Yes.
I'm going to tell all of you this story, the reason why I believe in Saint Anthony. He's a saint of miracles. My mother goes to Canada again, because she would travel the world doing TV. And she leaves me $100. I was 17 years old. And at the time, subs were like $1.50. So we ordered so many subs and pizzas and stuff. And I love tuna fish. So I ate half the tuna fish. Instead of getting a new one, I left it out in the side. I ate the one that I didn't put in the refrigerator that was sitting out there for 6 hours. I got bad food poisoning. You have to hear the story, because it's a true story. So all of a sudden, the next day, it's like 7 in the morning. I'm sick to my stomach. They rushed me to Mount Sinai Hospital, and they gave me a room. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel sick. And the nurse's station is like right in front of me. And I'm like, oh my God, please help me, help me. And they're like, there's nothing we could do. They didn't give you a shot. There was nothing they could do. They just monitored you. And I was like, oh my God, help. And I was like a real nuisance to them. I don't wish food poisoning on anybody, God forbid. And all of a sudden, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, just go to sleep. And I couldn't. And this nun walks in my room. And now I think I'm hallucinating. You know what hallucinating, right?
Yes. Yep.
Hallucinating is. So I feel like I'm hallucinating now. And she puts this chain on my neck with no clasp and walks out. And I'm pressing for the for the nurses, get that nun. And they're like, there was no nun. No nun came in your room, blah, blah, blah. The next day, I wake up and my mom's sitting next to me. And at that time, I would jog like 3 miles. I was like 110 pounds. And I said, oh my God, Mom. She goes, Jill, are you okay? I go, oh my God, I feel great. I said, can you get me a bagel with tuna fish? She goes, you just had food poisoning. I said, I don't care. I want a bagel. And I said, I want to go jogging. And she goes, what is that on your neck? I'm like, this nun came in my room in the middle of the night and put it on my neck. And so the nurse comes in and my mom says, what nun came in her room and what is that on my daughter's neck? And she looks at it and she goes, oh, that's St. Anthony. And my mom's like, what's St. Anthony? And they said, that's the Saint of Miracles and the finder. And I never took it off my neck all those years. I go to Israel in 1990, I think it was 1992. And the highest rabbi, Rabbi Gadori, wanted to meet me. May he rest in peace. He was the highest rabbi. And I had to have someone interpret because I don't speak Hebrew. And everybody was so worried that I'm wearing a saint on my neck in front of the highest rabbi in Israel. And he said to me in Hebrew, and they translated, if I told them to tell him the story, and they said, since that helps you, wear it. I'm blessing it. And they were all worried, oh my God, how dare you wear a saint in front of the highest rabbi?
Interesting.
But that was from that point on, that was my saint.
Thank you very much for another insightful story. And I have to be considerate for your time. I know you are busy. So we are approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
I want everyone to be blessed. I want everyone to let go of the rent in your head. This upcoming year is going to be such a better year. I want everyone, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to be in a lockdown. Don't worry. It's going to be a much better year. Property and taxes are going to, properties are going to start to go down a little bit. And the interest rates are going to go down. So people are going to be able to afford to buy property, all of you. So it's going to be a much better year next year, and with a different president in the United States of America.
That's all good news.
I do want to say.
Thank you very much. That's good news for
we'll do this again.
Yes.
We'll definitely do this again.
Yes, Jill, thank you very much for your time. Blessings.
Thank you. You're such a kindred spirit. You're a kindred spirit. And can I say one more thing?
Please.
For those of you who have lost somebody or have gone through a breakup, remember there are many soulmates in life. Okay, you can, just because if you lost your husband or wife to the beautiful heavens, that doesn't mean that you're not going to love again. You'll just love someone in another way. Always remember that. So in life, you can have more than one soulmate. It's not just one, more than one soulmate. And next year is going to be a great year for love. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Jill.
And to my subscribers, thank you for watching. Share it, like it. Don't forget that we have a standalone website right now, spiritualinspired.ca, where you can find all the previous interviews. And until next time, love and gratitude.